I think offensively, one position aside from starting quarterback that you got to be really tuned into and really turned up about if you're an Alabama fan is the running back room. Now, of course, you lose Brian Robinson Jr., Tuscaloosa native, to the NFL draft, and what a tremendous story B-Rob was. I mean, came in here, waited his time, put his head down, worked hard, grinded tirelessly. A guy that waited 5 years behind so many great running backs, earned his opportunity this past year to be the starter, and took full advantage of it. For 1,300 yards rushing, 1,343, had 14 touchdowns. I think he had 4 or 5 100-yard rushing performances, had a 200-yard outing against Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl, a bowl performance, a bowl record in terms of Crimson Tide running back. So B-Rob did some good things, and there's going to be a team out there in the pros that will get a fine running back in the upcoming draft. However, Alabama's got 4 big, heavy hitters on the roster to start spring ball. It's going to have 6 running backs overall on the roster, but to start spring ball, it's going to have 4 heavy hitters on the depth chart here. In those 4, you look at Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs. All 4 can do something different. All 4 bring different dynamics, different aspects to the running back position and that room. And it's going to be fun to watch which of these 4 becomes the starter. Which one of these 4 becomes the number 1 running back on the roster, and then from there, who's the lightning to the number 1 guy's thunder, who's the change of pace back, all these different types of questions being thrown out here. So as we look first off at Trey Sanders, and we remember Trey came in 2019 as a 5-star from Florida by the way of IMG Academy. He came in talking Heisman Trophy. He came in saying that he's going to win the Heisman. He's going to be the big man on campus. He's going to be the superstar, the stud in the room. And it started off looking that way, especially in August camp. He was projected to take some carries from Najee Harris, from Brian Robinson. Unfortunately, a foot injury happened, and that set Trey Sanders back. He wasn't on the field, couldn't play, couldn't get into the action, and we had to wait off to the sideline, so that kind of halted us from seeing what Sanders could really do. And then the next year, the 2020 year, he starts off, building some momentum, goes to the Mississippi State game, has 12 carries for 80 yards, and we're all going, okay, Trey's going to do something. Trey's going to be fine. And then Trey goes back home to Florida, and the car accident happens, and it leaves him with serious injuries, including a hip issue, had to have surgery on that. And that sidelines. I mean, there's a setback right there. And we all got kind of, concerned, would Trey be bitten by the injury bug too much? Would Sanders be taken away from the Alabama program by the injury bug? All these concerns start to sort of pile up in our minds. And so, last year, finally stayed healthy all the way through the season. Did some good things, put up some decent numbers here. But now he enters this spring the healthiest he's ever been. Can he stay that way? Can he remain that way? I think that's the biggest question for you as fans. Can Sanders remain healthy? Can he be healthy? Can you give us 2 strong, solid years healthy? Because if he can, what he can do from a pass-catching standpoint, run the ball between the tackles with power, speed in the open space, pass blocking ability, the fluidity of him switching the ball from one hand to the other, just a smooth, natural-looking back at that position, Sanders can be the starter. He can be the spring starter. He can be the day 1 starter in the regular season. It's can he put together another year 100% fully healthy? That's Trey Sanders. When you discuss Jase McClellan and Roydell Williams, they're both trying to bounce back and shake back from knee injuries that forced them to be sidelined for the 2021 season, or the remainder of the season for that matter. Jase McClellan got hurt against Ole Miss. Roydell Williams sustained an injury against New Mexico State. Both had to have surgeries done to repair these things. And starting off with Jase, before the injury, he was having a Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake type of year where he had 191 yards rushing and a couple of touchdowns. He had 10 catches for 97 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. He was doing a little bit of everything, and prior to his injury, he was that safety valve out the backfield for Bryce Young. Now, of course, Brian Robinson did a good job catching the ball at the backfield. He did. But for Jase McClellan, that skill set was more natural for him. He was natural. It was second nature for him to come out the backfield, whether it's in the curl to flat or running an actual route, catching the football, putting a move on a guy, and getting up and down the field. That was natural for Jase. And having him back to do that, along with running the ball between the tackles, getting space outside, turn the ball up as a running back in space, maybe putting him on special teams if Saban feels like doing that. Having a Jase McClellan back in that aspect going to be really good. And then for Roydell, the same thing. He's a bit more shifty than all the backs. He's a bit shiftier. He got that cutback ability, can see a hole, jump into another hole, reading the hole, pressing the hole a little bit faster than a lot of the other guys can do. A guy that's got pass blocking ability, can catch the ball at the backfield. Very strong guy, a pinball type of guy. And I feel like the running style of Roydell Williams fits the running style that Josh Jacobs had. Versus where McClellan is concerned, he's got the pass catching ability of Josh Jacobs. I think the running style of Jacobs fits more of Roydell, because Williams can bounce off of guys bounce off of him. Great contact balance, runs low to the ground, runs behind the pad level very well. So he's kind of got the running ability Roydell does, and Josh Jacobs carried during his time at Alabama. But both of these two look to shake back from knee injuries they suffered last year. And then here's Jahmyr Gibbs. And this is the dude that people have compared him to so many big-time running backs. I've heard the Alvin Kamara comparison being thrown out there for Jahmyr Gibbs. I've heard the Reggie Bush comparison being thrown out there to Jahmyr Gibbs. And when you watch his tape, I mean, it's right there. You want to talk about explosive. That was the one word Coach Saban kept saying earlier this month in the traditional recruiting period. Saban kept saying, Gibbs explosive hands, good hands, soft hands, can make plays, has accelerations, got speed, got everything we need, we desire at the running back position. We're discussing 1,800 all-purpose yards and 7 touchdowns in discussing. He had 470 yards rushing and 475 or so yards receiving, and he had 740 yards rushing, So 746 yards rushing, 470 yards receiving, and we're looking at 589 kick return yards to go with those 7 touchdowns he had. So Gibbs can do a little bit of everything. And when you bring somebody from the transfer portal, Coach Saban is not bringing those guys in to sit those guys. He brings those guys in to play those guys and utilize those guys and figure out, okay, where do you fit in relation to our offense? We know you're good, you got experience, you're dynamic, but where would you fit? Where are we going to see you fitting at the best in relation to this offense? So, I mean, when you look at these 4 running backs, I can see a scenario where it's Trey Sanders starting, and it's Jase McClellan as the second guy with Gibbs to change of pace. I can see a situation where maybe it's Trey Sanders and Gibbs as the 1-2, with McClellan the change of pace, with Roydell. I mean, there's a number of different combinations you can go to with this. All we know as fans, and myself here in the media correspondent area, is that this is a position where, outside of starting quarterback, you are really excited because you know what you have. You know what you have in Bryce Young because you've seen him. You know what you have in Trey Sanders. You know what you have in Jace McClellan. You know what you have in Roydell Williams. And Jahmyr Gibbs brings an interesting piece from the ACC that can really be dynamic, that can really be fun to watch there on the field. So spring football inching closer and closer. Tuesday of next week or the week after brings in the month of March. So I'm just pumped up to watch spring ball in action.